if we have low self-worth, and this is for everybody listening, if we have low self-worth, it often looks like we're stuck. Like we're stuck, meaning, oh, we have a crazy, amazing business idea, or we have a book we want to write, or we have, we don't want to be alone and we want to be in a relationship, but we literally are stuck and we don't know why. We don't get on the dating app. We don't submit the manuscript or even start writing it. We don't register the domain for our business. And a lot of people think like, oh, I'm stuck because I just need to get more experience or more skill sets. It's like, no, actually, underneath it all, you don't believe you're worthy of the thing. And when you don't believe you're worthy of it, like your self-worth will become your ceiling. And so when we have low to medium self-worth, which a lot of people do, this is me most of my life, even after selling my company for over $1 billion cash, I was very confident. I had high confidence. I was crushing it on the Forbes, all these things. I didn't know that self-confidence, which fluctuates based on external things, if we're winning or losing, our skill sets and abilities, is different than self-worth. Self-worth is like the deep internal knowing that you are enough and worthy exactly as you are. And that self-worth level is our ceiling.
Imagine what your life would be like if you adopted or adapted to that belief that she just shared with you. Yeah. She says so many brilliant things, but we need to slow down on that. I want you to imagine if you really believe that when you were rejected, God was telling you, I'm not revealing your value to them because they're not assigned to your destiny. Imagine how differently you would feel when someone's broken up with you or doesn't ask you out or doesn't buy from you or doesn't join your company or doesn't do anything that you would like them to do.
Yes.
That God is hiding your value from them, didn't reveal your value to them because they're not assigned to your destiny. And by the way, I can tell you at 52 years old, having had a little bit of success in my life, and you've had a bunch of success younger than I have, that is actually 100% true. Yeah. You're not adopting a belief system that's false there. It's 100% true, which is why podcasting and books are so profound, because you can learn from people that are further down the road from you and deduce these lessons. I don't know that there is a more powerful lesson somebody could learn than what you just said. Right there, I could give you story after story in my own life where my value was just simply being hidden, not being revealed because they weren't assigned to my destiny. Like everyone should write that down, should remember. That makes me emotional. My voice cracks when I say it, because there may literally be, because inside that belief system there's a God, and that you're being guided. And my favorite chapter of the book's on faith, but we'll talk about that later. But also that belief system, that he is always working in your favor, even in the moments where it feels most like he isn't with you. He was most with you in those moments. When you feel alone, you feel abandoned. Yes. So I love that. Yes. Fourth is revel in the fact that you are now fearless about rejection and failure. And I'm telling you, I can sit here right now and you ask me if self-worth is still a challenge. And I'm like, yeah, I'm a lifelong student. Yeah. Every day I have to apply the tools in this book to believe I'm worthy of walking in the room, to believe I'm worthy of, you being one of my best friends, to believe I'm worthy of all of it. I have to. So I'm a lifelong student. But what I will say I've mastered is I'm pretty freaking fearless when it comes to rejection, failure, bring it. Yeah. Like, it does not faze me one bit. And I still deal with it every day, like all the time. We all do, in little ways, big ways, small ways. You just don't see people posting about it on social. Everything looks great. But then behind the scenes, like a lot of people struggling with self-worth, a lot of people not understanding how to become fearless about rejection, how to change their relationship with it. So, I'm so passionate about it. You know what you say in the book that helped me, and I think will help a lot of people right now too, is she goes through these different lies in the book. Yeah. And I'll tell you, I bought into, we'll go through two of them because I want them to get the book, but I want to go through two of the lies that affected me. And here's what mine was for a big majority of my life, and it's literally verbatim out of the book. Lie that we tell ourselves is, I have nothing special to offer. And even like everyone's telling me, you got to write another book, you got to write another book, you got to write another book, right? And you are one of the main people going, you got to write this book, and I know what it is because we've talked about it. And here I am revisiting that lie. That's not that special. I don't have anything special to offer. I watch other people do a speech or a podcast or something, and I'm like, now that's good. I don't have anything special to offer. I really still believe that lie most often in my life. And I know people at whatever level they are at in life have bought into this. There's nothing special about me. And one of the ways they prove that there's nothing special they have to offer is their past. They're like, up until now, I've not done anything special, so there's nothing special that I have to offer. And they use sort of their past as a reference point to dictate their future. Would you agree with that? And then what would you say to that lie? Because I think that's a biggie. I think most people listen to this that are driving right now are nodding or riding on the treadmill, running on the treadmill. They're like, yeah, that's me. I don't think I have a whole lot special to offer.
Yeah. I think you're exactly right that they think because they haven't felt it in the past, right? It's part of why I share so much about my past.
Right. It's
I
so
don't
good.
want anyone thinking that their past or where they come from determines where they're going. So yeah, I go into the lies that lead to self-doubt and how to unlearn those lies and how to embrace and ignite the truths that wake up worthiness. And that lie about I've got nothing special to offer, it is, okay, first of all, if you are one of the brave ones, right, willing to actually show up as who you authentically are, just you being who you are is special. There is no one else like you in the entire universe, period. I could have launched a makeup business and gone, okay, this has been done before several 100,000 times. I got nothing special to offer. We did not win because the products were so great, although I think they were great. We won because I was brave enough to launch this thing authentic to who I am, which by definition, every single person driving their car, running on the treadmill, whatever you're doing right now in your life, if you are willing to be who you authentically are, you are by definition special, right then and there. If you are willing to launch your business as who you authentically are, you have something special to offer. There has never been another you before. There is never going to be another you, right? The way God made you, not just unique fingerprints, unique tongue print, unique iris of your eyes. There's no one else that has your actual heartbeat rhythm, right? When you look at the science behind it, there's no one else that has had your life experiences. There's no one else that has your thoughts, your emotions, or sees art and beauty the way that you do. If you are one of the brave ones, willing to do something authentically, it is indisputable that you have something special to offer. It's indisputable, right? And so many times we crave love and belonging so much, and we think that we can get it by waking up in the morning, putting on our happy uniform and our mask and showing up to the world as a people pleaser and who other people want us to be, right? 50% of women identify as people pleaser, 40% of men identify as people pleaser. So much of what we do is what we think will make everyone else happy at the expense of our own authenticity. But every time we think, I don't got anything special to offer, and we keep showing up trying to conform or fit in or meet other people's expectations at the expense of our own authenticity, what we're doing every time we do that is we're telling ourselves, I am not worthy of being who I authentically am. And slowly but surely it chips away at our self-worth. So one of the things you can do in your life right now to unlearn the lie, I've got nothing special to offer. First of all, it is, again, indisputable when you show up authentically. You can't even dispute it. You have something special to offer. And I don't care if you're launching a business that thousands of other people have done and you've been telling yourself the lie, oh, it's already been done before 1,000,000 times. Or, oh, other people have something special to offer in their book or on stage, but I don't. Like, it's all a lie. It's all a lie, right? And step one today is literally just going, wait a minute. Do you see you? Who am I? How do I feel? What do I want? What do I mean? Like, who am I? How do I feel? Who am I authentically? And actually show up that way. And try it today in a conversation with someone. Like, say what you really mean. Say how you really feel. When they say, how are you? It's like, oh, I'm good. How you? Say how you really feel. Do you really see them? And do you really see yourself? Right? And there's a whole chapter in the book called You're Not Crazy, You're Just First. Because here's the thing. We tell ourselves this lie because we all crave love and belonging. We tell ourselves, I've just got to fit in and morph into who others expect me to be so I can get love and belonging. And all we end up doing is feeling alone, more lonely than ever, and more disconnected than ever.
What if what if the fact that this belief that you have that I have nothing special to offer, what if it could possibly be, by the way, and you are special because you're the only person with all those personalities and emotions and experiences, Jamie said, but here's a place to look. You want a place to look to know what you have special to offer? In your insecurities, in your trauma, in mistakes you've made, in your past. I think oftentimes that special thing you have to offer is hidden in pain, is hidden in mistakes you've made, is hidden in rejection that you've experienced. You know what your special thing might be to offer? The fact that you believe you have nothing special to offer is special, and you could help people. That, Rory said, like we said before, that you're most qualified to help the person you used to be. I'm going to say it again. The fact that you believe that about yourself, probably that special thing is hidden as some sort of pain or insecurity or trauma that you have. So you are special. Here's the other one, and you just said it. It's almost like you're reading my mind of what I want to ask you about. I've believed this lie, and I think it is more prominent with women, though. But I believe it. Lie in the book that she references. I should only be seen when I'm happy. And I think that's that mask thing. They should only see me on my A game. You just said it. How are you doing today? I'm good. I should only be seen when I'm good. I want to make other people happy, so I have to project that I'm happy all of the time. And I think that puts a pressure on people. It immediately makes you believe you have to be fake or inauthentic when you believe that. Or you do what I just said earlier. I'll just hide. I'll just hide. And I think a lot of us introverts, like if I can't be on and be happy, then I shouldn't be seen. And I think we all suffer from this. There's a depth to this book. I'm telling you that if you let your heart and mind open, how does this apply for me? Because even that lie, I'm like, I don't. And then I thought, no, that's 100% me. I'm only seen when I'm on. I'm only seen when I'm happy. So tell us about that lie.
Yeah. And I remember the first time I ever saw you not on and not happy. And I just felt so freaking grateful that you trust, like that. I just felt such a depth of connection with you. And here's the thing. 75% of men and women, you look at the studies, 75% of us will hide our true emotions and just show up when we can deliver some kind of positive news, positive emotion, put on a happy face. We have this huge juxtaposition happening where we have tragedy and horrible things happening everywhere. And then we have signs everywhere saying good vibes only, and we feel like, okay, unless I'm positive and happy and all the things, which by the way, I believe we can control a lot of the way we feel often, right? I believe we can do a lot to control our state and everything else. But, Glennon Doyle once said, being human isn't about feeling happy. It's about feeling everything. And if we want the depth of connection with other people and ourselves, we have to be willing to show up as we are. Otherwise, again, every time, we think oh, I'm not going to call my friend until I have something good to say. I don't want to bring them down with my problems, or all of these things. And what we do is we doubt ourselves out of into disconnection from people, from ourselves, right? And every time that we show up inauthentically, just trying to be positive, and that's not how we feel, right? And we're really trying to be someone other than who we are. We're telling ourselves we are unworthy as we are.
No kidding.
And here's the thing, it is so important to be able to feel worthy of being sad, or of saying, you know what, I feel insecure right now, or you know what, I'm kind of bummed out today, or and to feel like someone else could hold space for that, you're worthy of someone else holding space for that, right? And that you deserve someone showing up for you in that way. It's really a fundamental self-worth issue.
Can I say something to all the women listening? Can I give you some insight into your man and how it'll apply to him oftentimes? By the way, I'm not real big on either of you gender-specific advice. But I will tell you, if you have a man in your life who's struggling with this, he more than likely has been raised to believe that if he shows fear or sadness, or that he's down or worried or has anxiety, that he's being weak. And so he only shows up strong. It might not be happy. Maybe it's strong. He only shows up. How's everything going? Everything's okay. And they keep things inside. And if you have a man in your life who does that regularly, like me, who's done it for years and years and years, you have a man who is stacking in his life pain. It's going to come out in other ways. And it's not until I've gotten older and I've had really good friends around me, like you, where there's been things that have happened in my life in the last year or two, as you know, where I'm like, no, I'm really hurting right now.
Yeah.
And it's allowed me to be more me. And I'm a worthy person even when I'm not perfect. I'm a worthy person even when I'm down. I don't have to be strong all of the time. And I know this applies to women as well, being happy and being strong, but it does apply in your man's life, believe me. Men have a real problem, real challenge being willing to say, I'm down right now.
Yeah.
I'm down. I'm hurting right now. And so know that if you can create a space where they feel like they're accepted when they do it and they don't feel weak for doing it, I think you'll have a stronger relationship with that man in your life if you have one, for what it's worth.
And to add to that, it's so powerful what you just shared. When you look at the data that 73% of men feel inadequate, right? So many men are so good at hiding it. But here's the thing. When you create a safe space for a man in your life to share those things, what is so critical is that you do not let yourself go to the believing that same lie he did, which is somehow that's inadequate to feel those things.
Yeah.
There's so many. I'll just talk about some women in my life who wish their partner would open up more with this or that. But some of them, when their partner does, all of a sudden, they start telling themselves the lie that, you know what I mean? And so it's like, it's both.
What do they tell themselves?
All of a sudden, they're not quite attracted. I wish he was stronger. Like those kind of things. It's a lie that everyone needs to unlearn, right? Because not only should everyone have the space to show up as they fully are, but the traditionally opposite gender roles need to be really aware of those lies, because you can get someone back into hiding really fast.
Oh my gosh, that's so true. You know, you talk a lot in the book. I didn't know we were going to go here, but I'm glad we are, about disconnection.
Yes.
It's a great story. I'll let you read the book, guys, about a fire at a hotel that she was in that really hit me. It's actually one of my favorite parts of the book. But this relationship we have with becoming disconnected. Yeah. And one of the real ways in a loving relationship, in a marital one or a boyfriend-girlfriend or same-sex relationship, that you become disconnected is by not being willing to say, I'm down, I'm hurting. It's a form of disconnection because you're really lying to one another. Yeah. You're disconnecting. Actually, what I'm feeling right now is some anxiety. I'm feeling some worry. I'm scared. I'm scared right now. And when you don't share vulnerably and authentically like that, you're creating a level of disconnection because there's no real authentic emotions and feelings being shared with one another. And that's why a lot of relationships suffer. One of them's trying to stay really, really strong. The other one's trying to, put on the happy face all the time. And no one's really sharing and showing up as they really are. And I think that's the symptom of the disease, that they don't feel worthy. Yeah. And that's why this work is so profound.
So profound. And what I'll say to that too, I think the most just staggering and profound form of disconnection is us disassociating from ourselves, where we don't even know how we feel. We're not even paying attention to who we really are, what we really feel. So then we're showing up in relationships, and it's not even that we're intentionally sometimes not sharing it. We're just disassociating from ourselves, right? And
Yes.
I won't share the whole fire story, but in the middle of a life-threatening emergency, I just remember normally I take on everyone's energy around me, like kind of like as an empath. And it was one of the times I remember literally being in such a mode where I disassociated from everything, was in full survival mode to get out of this hotel fire alive somehow. And I realized, oh my gosh, in hindsight, everyone had handled the fire differently. Some people froze, some people panicked, others were screaming, running up and down the hallways. I just remember completely disassociating from everything, including my own body, and just being in full survival mode. And while that helped me in a fire and helped me find this like scaffolding to climb down the side of the building, it does not help me in life. Like for me, and maybe a lot of people can relate to this, like numbing or disassociating can come in so many forms. Yep. For some people, it's substances or whatever, shopping or, gambling. It could be whatever, different addictions. For me, it's almost always come in either food or work addiction and busyness.
Me too.
Hey guys, I want to talk to you about Shopify. Look, when I started the show, the furthest thing from my mind was doing online business, and now I can't imagine my life without it. So I love Shopify because they're a global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business. So whether you're in the startup phase where you're just launching your online store, or you're at that really big business where you're like, hey, we just hit $1 million in order stage, Shopify is there to help you grow. They've helped me through every single stage. I wouldn't even know what to do without them. So whether you're selling shipping supplies or promoting productivity programs, Shopify helps you everywhere, from their all-in-one e-commerce platform to their in-person POS system. Wherever and whatever you're selling, Shopify's got you covered big time. They help turn browsers into buyers. They convert their checkouts 36% better than all the leading competitors. And I've used them for everything I do online. So every single thing you see that I market online, Shopify is somehow involved. I wouldn't even know what to do without them. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/Milet, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Milet now to grow your business no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/Milet.
Work addiction and busyness, for so many of us, we see it as a badge of honor. But often, it's just a form of numbing that disassociates and disconnects you from you. And when we are when we are disconnected and disassociated from ourselves in that way, how do you think we're showing up in our relationships? Why do you think we feel so lonely? And Ed, I just want to share something with you because
Wow, right there. Yeah, go ahead.
so many of us don't feel seen, we don't feel heard, we don't feel loved, but we don't realize that so often the root of that is we don't see or love ourselves. And I'll never forget, like in the book I go in, there's a whole chapter on do you see you? And in that chapter, there's 5 self-worth shortcuts where I go into like literally tactical things you can do in your life right now. Some might seem silly, some might seem really profound, but things you could do in your life right now to actually connect with yourself. Because we live in a world where busyness is rewarded, where we're disassociated all the time, where we're people-pleasing everyone else at the expense of our own soul, right? Where we're just trying to strive to get what the world defines success as. We're showing it for everyone else and we don't even know. Like we're disconnected and disassociated from ourselves. And we crave, each one of us, so deeply to be seen, like so deeply. And I just want to share that I remember your talk show. And I remember, and I watched every single episode
Thank you.
of your season. And anyone listening who watches Ed's interviews, listens to Ed's interviews, or has seen the talk show, any of that, you see people. And you see God in people. You see God's creation in people.
I do.
And when I've watched people sit in front of you, whether it's in this interview chair or in your talk show seat, and it could be someone that has committed tons of crimes, had massive amounts of failure in their lives, struggling to get by, got problems they don't know how to solve, or someone with tremendous success. You can see their armor come down from the way you see them.
Thank you.
And how you see God in them. And what I wonder, and I know you know what I'm talking about,
I know where you're going.
how you see them. But what I wonder is if you ever look at yourself in the mirror, Ed Milet, into your own eyes, literally. When's the last time, I'm just going to ask you this, when's the last time you looked in the mirror, anyone listening too, into your own eyes and saw God in you and who God created, like the magnificence that is you, the worth that is you?
Long time ago. You get me upset. Too long ago. Too long ago.
You, more than anyone I know, just sees the beauty and the worth in other people.
Don't do that to me. Okay.
And when you shared earlier in the interview
You're
that
supposed to be crying on my show. You're right.
when you share, I cried earlier, when you shared that you still right now in this moment struggle with feeling love, like you can love other people, one of the tools in here, probably the simplest tool in the whole book, but not quite simple when you do it, is actually like looking in the mirror in your own eyes. And everyone at home, like listening to this, when is the last time you actually looked in the mirror in your own eyes and saw the miracle in motion that is you? Like the beauty and the grace and the power that God made you. And if you can look in your own eyes the way God breathed life into you when he created you, that's what you do for other people. Yeah. That's why people are obsessed with your show. That's why I watch people just completely disarm and connect with you on your talk show. You can do that for other people. They feel that. And the most important thing is to be able to do that with yourself.
You're right. You're right. Thank you for that. I thank you for that. That's a hard one for me. And it's one that I went past that part of the book really quick, honestly.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, because I'm like, I don't know that I want it. But it is simple to do. And I do need to give myself the gift of doing that, because I know how great I feel when I see, like I said to you earlier in the interview, the Holy Spirit's flowing right now. It took us like 10 minutes. I could see it. And I would love to see more of that in myself, because I know that it's there. I just, a lot of what you just said the last 10 minutes, you know, I'm going to cry, so I don't want to cry so anymore. But even just staying busy, producing, you know, is a form of disconnection.
Yeah.
And I think that it does eventually show up and rob you of some kind of connection with the people around you that you love the most if you're not connected with yourself.
Yes.
And so I will do that for my children. I will do that for my family.
When you change your relationship with rejection, you change your entire life. So many of us think, oh, if I just manifest things or pray for things or work really, really, really hard, then I'll get unstuck and I'll get the things I want in my life. And you can do all those things. And I do all of those. I pray, I manifest, right? I work really, really, really hard. But if deep down inside, you don't feel you're worthy of the thing, or you have this fear or this association of pain with the potential rejection, you'll stay stuck, even if you do all of those things. So it is so important to change your relationship with rejection and failure, change the meaning you attach to it, so that it's not something that keeps you stuck. It's not something that holds you back. It's no longer something you associate pain with. It's something that you embrace. You go full speed ahead on, right? Because you can actually change the meaning and change your relationship with rejection and failure to one where you're like, you know, you define it in a new way where you're fearless about it. I've learned how to do this. It is one of the most powerful things that you can do in your life. It's one of the most powerful things you can do when it comes to going after your hopes and your dreams and your goals and your ambitions. It's literally the one thing that can change everything. And so here's the deal. In Worthy, there is an entire masterclass on how to do this. It's there's over 20 tools on building unshakable self-worth in this book, because in life, we do not become what we want. We become what we believe we're worthy of. So there's over 20 tools in here on how to build unshakable self-worth, but one of them is the longest chapter in the book. It was almost its entirely own book. I just didn't want to wait longer to get it into your hands. So we literally put it in Worthy as one of the tools, because it is so powerful. But here's the deal. As human beings, every single one of us, we are wired to avoid pain at all costs, right? We're wired to avoid pain. It's how we've stayed alive forever. We're wired to avoid pain, even if we know if we do something, the potential outcome could be so positive, so pleasurable, all of that. We will still, if we associate pain with the thing, we'll still avoid it, right? So for a lot of us, it's why we know if we worked out every single day, we'd feel really good. We may hit our fitness goals. We may, all those things. But when we associate pain with working out, with going to the gym, with, moving our body, when we associate pain with it, even though we know the outcome could be amazing, for most people, we'll avoid it. We won't do it because we want to avoid the pain of, what we associate with working out. It's not dissimilar from our goals, from our dreams, from going after things. We know, oh, you know what? If I go for it, I might make it. It might happen. I might bring it to life. But then if we associate the pain of potential rejection and failure with going for the thing, it's one of the biggest reasons why we stay stuck. It's one of the biggest reasons why we don't go for things. It's one of the biggest reasons why. And here's the thing, y'all. When we have a lot of past failures and past rejections, right? Not only for a lot of us are they painful, but the biggest risk to this, if we don't change our relationship with rejection, the biggest risk to this is, I have so many past mistakes and failures, right? A lot of people see my story and they're like, oh, you built $1 billion business from your living room. Everything just happened for you like a fairy tale, right? It must have been easy. You must have got lucky. Let me just tell you, I went through hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of rejections over years, teetering on bankruptcy long before the company I started in my living room at Cosmetics became a household name and $1 billion company. Right? But it was learning, how do I handle and manage and give meaning to the rejections as they are happening in my life, and learning to do this will change everything. So here's the thing, why this can be really dangerous. When you have so much pain associated with potential rejections or failures, right? Or with past rejections or failures, not only are you likely to stay stuck, because you want to avoid that pain at all costs. Not only are you likely to not go for things or to hesitate or to doubt yourself out of them, but for so many of us, this becomes a self-worth issue. Because if you have a lot of rejections and perceived failures in the past, sometimes our self-doubt starts to convince us we are a failure. And that's when it can take root at an identity level. And number one, that is a lie. I do not care how many past mistakes, how many past failures you've ever had. It literally does not mean you're a failure. And it does not mean you are unworthy or somehow unqualified or incapable of accomplishing your biggest dreams, your wildest dreams. It does not mean, if you've had past setbacks in your business, or maybe things haven't gone as well, or you've gone out there in the dating world and things just haven't gone your way. Your past is not an indication of your future. Your past does not have to determine your future unless you choose to live there, right? So our goal right now, and a huge reason why I wrote Worthy and why there is an entire masterclass in here on rejection, because when we change our relationship with it, we change everything. So I'm going to take you through a framework right now on how to do this in your life. I go way deeper in the book, like deep in the book. But let's do this right now, just on a really cool, powerful level together. Because when you learn, right? So I kind of recapped how if you associate pain with rejection and failure, then you're likely going to just stay stuck. You're likely not going to put yourself out there, or you may not share your ideas at work just in case they're rejected. And you don't want the pain of that, right? You may not put your book out there in the world or show up authentically as who you truly are on social media. I mean, this impacts every area of our life. When we fear the potential of rejection or failure and we associate rejection and failure as being negative or painful, it will literally impact every area of your life. And here's the deal, y'all. Everything in life is the meaning we attach to it. Everything, right? So what if I told you you could associate a powerful, inspiring, empowering meaning with rejection or failure? You'd probably think like, I don't think so, Jamie. But I'm telling you right now, you can. You can. And I've learned to do it, and it's changed everything. Literally changed everything. I don't know, had I not learned to change my relationship with rejection and failure and literally see it every time it happens as something empowering and inspiring, and I'll tell you how to do it in a second, I could have never endured the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of rejections that I went through for years. to finally turning those no's into yeses, to finally getting my products into stores, to finally getting people to give me a chance, to finally getting people to believe in me, right? And I could have never kept going because it would have been too painful. But I literally learned to attach positive meaning to rejection and failure when they happened, and it changed everything. So here's how you do it. I'm going to go through briefly the 4 R's in this framework. We go deep into how to do this in Worthy. And it's so powerful because it literally will change everything. So the 4 R's are reveal, redefine, revisit, and revel. And let me explain them to you. We're going to do them right now together, okay? I'll take you through just really, really high level, but we go really deep into how to do this in all areas of your life in the book. So the first is reveal. So, okay, I'm going to ask you a super, super honest question. And I want you to be so honest with the answer. And don't even think too much about it. Just the first thing that comes to you. When you imagine yourself getting rejected or failing at something, what is the first thought you have? What's the very first thought? Right? Very first thought. And it helps sometimes to imagine yourself being rejected or put yourself in a situation where something just fails that you really hoped would work. What's the very first thought you have? It goes through your mind, sometimes without even realizing it. And now I want you to write that down, okay? For so many of us, anytime I ask a group of people this, and then they shout out their answer, the things I hear the most often are, I'm not enough. I shouldn't have even tried. I don't have what it takes. I'm unqualified. Why'd I even think I could? I'm an idiot. I'm stupid. I mean, some of the things people share, I'm like, whoa, right? For me, most of my life, every time I got rejected or failed at something, my first thought was, yep, there's proof I'm not enough. Yep, there's proof again, I'm not enough. Over and over and over. And that, whatever your first thought you just had was, that you just wrote down, that is your current definition of rejection and failure. That's your current definition of rejection and failure. And so I want you to take note of that, okay? Because here's the deal. Is if that definition is painful, and there's a good chance it is, we think it subconsciously and we don't even realize, but we want to avoid that pain at all costs. And so if your current definition of rejection or failure is something like, I'm not enough, I shouldn't have even tried, yeah, I always fail, people like me don't have good things happen to it, like whatever that definition is, if it's painful for you, it is likely a big reason why you're staying stuck in some areas of your life. So that is the reveal, which is your current definition. Now, what I learned to do many years ago, early on in building my company, is I learned to actually redefine the meaning I gave to rejection or failure when they happen in my life to one that's inspiring. And then every time a rejection or failure would happen, I would catch my brain going right to that old thought of I'm not enough, and I would intercept it, replace it with this new definition that I believe to be true. That's the key. The new one has to be something empowering, inspiring, but that you believe to be true, okay? And I'd replace it with that new definition, and slowly but surely, it helped me fear rejection less, embrace it more, become more resilient, and keep going for things. So here's how this happened in my life. I'm going to share with you. So I was in a season of getting so much rejection, not knowing how my business wasn't going to go under. It was everyone around me was saying, I don't believe in you, or I don't think this is going to work, or any of these things, right? And one day I was so down, I was literally crying under my covers after another really painful rejection from QVC, which I'd always dreamed of going on, right, my whole life. And then when I launched the business, I was like, oh, this is going to be perfect. I'm going to show my products on live television for 100 million homes and prove they work. And I just knew it was going to happen. And I was manifesting it, praying about it, all the things. And after sending them products for years and always hearing no, I finally got on the call with the head of all beauty, the whole beauty division there. And he said, no, you're not the right fit for us or for our customers. It's unanimous across all of our buyers. It's a no. It was such a painful rejection at the time. And I just was crying. And I remember Googling at that moment, every person I admired most who had changed the world, every thought leader, every person who would help move humanity forward, to become a force for good and a force for love in the world, every business leader who had built iconic companies. And y'all, every person I Googled, I realized, oh my gosh, they've had countless rejections and failures in their lives. They're just the brave ones willing to keep going anyways. And that day, I wrote out this new definition. Rejection or failure does not mean I'm not enough. Rejection or failure means I'm one of the brave ones willing to go for it. Like, I'm not going to be a person sitting on the sidelines of life living in regret that I'm stuck and never go for it. Every rejection or failure, I'm going to go, oh, this rejection, this failure is a victory. It means I'm one of the brave ones willing to be going for it, right? And I believe that to be true, okay? That's the key. I know it to be true. So what I started doing is each time another rejection, another naysayer, another setback, another, critic, another person saying, your business is never going to make it. Every time that would happen, of course, right? My neural pathways in my brain, they're carved deep for all of us. It would first want to go to that old thing saying I'm not enough, but I would catch it, I'd intercept it, and I would instantly go, oh, this is amazing. I just got rejected. You know why? It's another reminder. I am one of the brave ones willing to go for it. This is amazing. And I started actually associating, I'm not even kidding, associating positive, empowering, inspiring meaning to rejection. Another one, another definition I wrote out was rejection is God's protection. And I believe that to be true. And for you, it may be rejection's God's protection. It may be rejection's the universe's protection, right? Whatever speaks true to your soul. And every time I would get a rejection that just didn't make sense, right? Like somebody maybe just, I don't know, betrayed my trust or just didn't see my value or, or whatever it might be. I put myself out there and, to a new friend group and said, oh, can I join everyone's weekly coffee or whatever it might be, right? And we all get rejections like this all the time. And every time it started happening when that rejection didn't make sense, I would always say, rejection's God's protection. And I would trust it. There was a really painful rejection I got once with a potential investor who I thought was going to save our company. And he, in the very end, after so many meetings and presentations, in the very end, he said, it's a no, we're going to pass on investing in cosmetics. And when I asked him why, he was really quiet for a long time and eventually said, do you want me to be really honest with you? And I said, yes, please. And he said, I just don't think women will buy makeup from someone who looks like you with your body and your weight. And for me in that moment, in that particular rejection, I never felt any anger toward him. I instantly felt a lifelong, my body flooded with self-doubt, body doubt, a lifetime of body doubt, right? So I felt like my own fear, it looked like I was staring my own fear straight in the eye when I was hearing this from him. And I went and cried in my car after. But then I remember just making this decision that this rejection does not mean my business isn't going to make it. Rejection is God's protection. So I don't know why, but God's protecting me from something right now. And I believe that in my soul, right? That was the moment, that particular rejection, I decided to assign that meaning to it. Well, fast forward 6 years later, and by the way, let me just say this. At the time, I didn't know how my business was going to make it. I was so desperate. I probably would have given him the majority of the whole company for nothing, right? Just to try and make sure our company stayed alive. Because he did not believe in me 6 years later, when my business had grown and grown and grown and grown, we had over 1,000 employees and L'Oreal bought my business for over $1 billion cash. It was the first time I heard from him, that potential investor, in over 6 years. He said, congratulations on the L'Oreal deal. I was wrong. And it reminded me so much of that movie, Pretty Woman, where they wouldn't help her in the store. Remember that? And then she goes back in. And what I wanted to say to him at the time was, big mistake. Huge, huge. I can give you 1.2 billion reasons why it was a huge mistake. But I didn't. I kept it classy. But I remember, y'all, in that moment, I was like, oh my gosh. Had he believed in me then, I would have given him the majority of the company for almost nothing just to stay alive. And all of a sudden, 6 years later, when I sold the business, I was still the largest shareholder. Paulo and I were still the largest shareholders, my husband, right? So I'm like, okay, rejection's God's protection. And sometimes we don't see why it's happening. And so I want to bring this up because when you're in a moment of rejection, we have choices. We can say to ourselves, oh, this means I'm not enough, or I'm never going to make it, or we can use those old painful definitions. But when we have new definitions that we replace the old ones with every time it happens, we start to build resiliency. We start to actually become fearless toward rejection and failure. And that's what happened for me. And I just kept going and kept going and kept going and kept going because I didn't fear it anymore. I didn't fear rejection or failure anymore. And I believe it is one of the keys on how I built the business. Otherwise, so many of us are tempted to give up after one rejection or 20 or 30, right? And so I think revealing your current one, but then redefining it is so huge, right? It's so huge. And it's so easy to do. I mean, another one is I was adopted. I was placed into adoption the day I was born. And growing up, I had the best parents who loved me so much, but they worked a lot. I was always alone. And I went through as an adult, finding out I was adopted and then kind of just processing all of it. I went through a long season of feeling like abandonment. You know, like, oh, my parents worked all growing up. I was always alone. I was always abandoned. Or, oh, you know, I was placed into adoption. I was abandoned. So I kind of had this narrative. And I decided one day, oh, I used this tool in my own personal life. I'm like, oh, I wasn't abandoned. I was chosen. Like, I was chosen by my birth mom to carry me. Her life probably would have been way easier if she didn't. I was chosen by God to come into this world. I was chosen by my adopted parents to raise me. I was chosen. And I made the decision to believe that. It changes everything, right? So the first R is to reveal your current definition. For me, it's, oh yeah, I'm not enough, right? And then the second R is to replace it with that new empowering definition. So you can use 1, 2, 3, 4, many new redefined empowering definitions. And then the third step is to revisit. And what this means is if there is a painful rejection in your past or failure, maybe many, and you've been hanging on to them as if they define who you are or are some indication of your worth, you can actually revisit past rejections, realize what is the meaning I've been assigning to those, and redefine the past rejection. This is huge. And for a lot of us, it is just liberating and so, so powerful. So one of my favorite ways to do this, my favorite revisiting, redefinitions is I often will think of, and maybe this has happened to you even recently, somebody who betrayed your trust or didn't show up for you like you wish they did, or pulled the rug out from underneath you, didn't see your value, broke your heart, you know, any of these things, the job you applied for and you don't know why, but you didn't get it. I revisit these rejections and even now when they happen to this day, my favorite definition to give them is this. I literally will imagine my creator. I will imagine God saying to me, oh, you weren't rejected. I hid your value from them because they're not assigned to your destiny. And I believe it, y'all. I will believe it. So even right now, if I have a friend betray my trust or somebody just pulls the rug out from underneath me or, you know, or I get rejected or I don't get the thing I'm hoping for or I'm not invited to the party or, you know, a friend has a big event and doesn't have me speak or whatever it might be. I just think to myself, or an in-law who I don't know why, no matter what I do, I don't feel like they value me, right? It doesn't matter what example. We all have these examples in our life every single day. Instead of feeling rejected and, you know, like I don't belong and fit in, I literally make the decision to believe and imagine God saying to me, oh, no, you weren't rejected. I hid your value from them because they're not assigned to your destiny. And that helps me embrace anytime someone rejects me, right? It helps me look at past rejections and just have this trust that God was just hiding my value from them because they're not assigned to my destiny, right? And no matter what you believe, having that kind of faith is huge because, again, it helps you build resiliency, helps you fear, potential or future rejections or setbacks or failures, and helps you get unstuck and go for them. Because, again, and I go deep into Worthy on how to do this, but we can manifest all day long and pray and do all the things. But if deep down inside, we associate so much pain with potentially failing at him, or we believe we're a failure, and deep down inside, we don't believe we're worthy of the thing, we can manifest, pray, work hard, go after it, get all the skills all day long. We still won't go for it. We'll still stay stuck or we'll still sabotage it. Learning to believe you are worthy and learning to redefine and change your relationship with rejection and failure changes everything. So the final R is revel. Revel in the fact that you are fearless when it comes to potential rejection and failure. And I have to say that, I did a lot of things wrong, building at cosmetics, made so many mistakes. And then now in my life, every single day, there's a whole lot of things I'm working on, right? I believe in the power of being a lifelong student. I believe that this is a lifelong journey, especially of building. Like why I wrote Worthy is because in life, we don't become what we want. We become what we believe we're worthy of. And learning to build that unshakable self-worth inside, which is very different than self-confidence. Self-confidence can fluctuate based on everything going on around us, but self-worth is deep, it's internal, it's unshakable. And learning how to raise that self-worth, it is a lifelong journey. And so the fourth R, though, is reveling in the fact that you no longer fear rejection or failure. At this point in my life, I am growing in a lot of areas, working hard to improve in a lot of areas, but I will say I'm pretty fearless when it comes to rejection or failure. Doesn't faze me. I literally believe all those definitions I shared with you and many more. So this becomes a tool in your toolbox on how to build self-worth, how to, build resilience, on how to get unstuck and go for the things that you are put on this earth and called to do. Because here's the thing, self-doubt kills more dreams than almost anything else. And there are so many moments in my life where I came so close to doubting myself out of my own destiny. No more, no more. And this is one of the tools I found that's just life-changing in so many areas.
I would like to go back to when you're a Denny's waitress. You wrote a book called Worthy. Are you at Denny's feeling worthy, or what are you feeling like?
Yeah, that's the thing. I wrote Worthy because, first of all, our self-worth is our ceiling, right? So many of us, we think, I just need more skill set. I need to work harder. And all those things are important, but our self-worth is our ceiling. I didn't know that for a long time. And what I know now, you want to double your business, double your self-worth. You want to double your success, double your self-worth. And for a long time, I didn't realize that, really in life, we don't necessarily rise to what we believe is possible. We fall to what we believe we're worthy of. And so when I was in my days waitressing tables at Denny's, I literally remember moments where I'd look around and think I could run this, have those kind of thoughts, but then my self-doubt would get really, really, really loud. And so, a lot of people maybe Google my story and they see Denny's waitress builds $1 billion company, but my real story is and that happened, yes. And I'm so proud of it. And learned so many tactical tools and takeaways I'm so happy to share and dive into. But my real journey, I'm more proud of than that, is going from a girl who really didn't believe in myself most of my life, to learning how to believe in myself and learning how to believe I'm worthy, of the hopes and dreams I have. And I think that's the biggest thing, for anyone listening, is so important that we know what we want and why we want it, and then take action and do all the things. But at the end of the day, we don't become what we want. We become what we believe we're worthy of. And that's in life, in our business, and our goals, and our dreams. So when we raise our self-worth, we change everything. Because if we don't, we literally, so many people sabotage things, stay stuck, or doubt themselves out of their own destiny because our self-doubt gets so loud. So
maybe before we go further, maybe talking about before Denny's, what was your childhood like, and maybe why did you not feel worthy?
Yeah, I think, what's wild is you look at the data right now. So as the three of us are talking, 80% of women don't believe they're enough, and 73% of men feel inadequate and not enough. And it's wild because we're so good at a lot of people are really, really good at hiding it. And it's funny, I was just talking with Ed Milet, who loves the two of you, who was so excited for me to come on the show because he loves both of you. And he was saying, right now, despite in his life having private jets, huge companies with success, all the things going on externally, which brings him a lot of confidence, he still struggles to believe he's enough. And it's sort of this lifelong journey, because when we don't underneath it all believe we're enough, we can achieve everything and build all this self-confidence, but we'll never feel fulfilled when we do it. And a lot of people think, well, if I feel like I'm enough as I am, will I lose my edge? Will I stop, will I become less ambitious? It's actually the opposite. Like when you feel super, super enough, like strong self-worth as you are, you actually become more fearless because okay, if I fall flat on my face, if I fail, if I have setbacks, like it might shake my self-confidence a little bit, which is largely based on the external, but like I'm unshakable inside, and it helps you become more fearless. And so growing up, I think, what I will say, so in Worthy, there's I covered 20 different tools on how to build unshakable self-worth, and a lot of them are lies that so many of us need to unlearn. And one of the lies, which I think comes from my childhood, to answer your question, I grew up believing that achievement equaled love, or that I needed to achieve to be enough, and sort of like confusing achievement with love.
Did that come from your parents, or did that come from a teacher, or where do you think that comes from?
Yeah, I think so. So two things. I think universally, so many of us are raised even just seeing like advertisements and this and that, and they're great, or well-intended people in our lives that are like, all they ask about is your job, or how's your job going? How's your work going? Are you married yet? Do you have kids? And we start to learn that if we get good answers to those things, then we've got their stamp of approval. Like then we're enough. Then, and so that's there. And then a lot of us work so hard to finally get these big goals that we think will make us feel enough. And we arrive at them and still feel like something's missing, and still feel like, so then we just keep hustling harder. And it becomes this never-ending, perpetual thing, which is what Ed and I have both experienced for decades of our life, where we keep achieving the next level and the next level and the next level. And to give you like a real tangible example, because for everyone listening to us right now, if they're like, oh, I'm super confident, I'm super successful, I kind of feel like I'm not enough, or it's not enough, but I think I just got to work harder. It's actually a self-worth issue, because a lot of people will give up on marriages. They think something's missing in their marriage when really they don't feel enough as who they are.
100% go off on that. I totally agree with that.
It's such a thing.
Yeah, they want someone else to fill up their cup, but what you got to realize is it's an inside job. You got to fill up your own cup.
Exactly. And so the number of marriages that end, or the number of people that think, oh, I just need to quit my job and go to another one, or this or that, I don't have the fulfillment I need. And they think that the enoughness needs to come from the outside. And that's a self-worth thing. So 3 ways, like for anyone listening, like if they are like, wait a minute, do I need worthy? Like, do I feel enough? Is this really a thing? Because I think I'm crushing it on the outside. The 3 main ways that like self-worth become big issues in our life. If we have low self-worth, and this is for everybody listening, if we have low self-worth, it often looks like we're stuck. Like we're stuck, meaning, oh, we have a crazy, amazing business idea, or we have a book we want to write, or we have, we don't want to be alone and we want to be in a relationship, but we literally are stuck and we don't know why. We don't get on the dating app. We don't submit the manuscript or even start writing it. We don't register the domain for our business. And a lot of people think like, oh, I'm stuck because I just need to get more experience or more skill sets. It's like, no, actually, underneath it all, you don't believe you're worthy of the thing. And when you don't believe you're worthy of it, like your self-worth will become your ceiling. And so when we have low to medium self-worth, which a lot of people do, this is me most of my life, even after selling my company for over $1 billion cash, I was very confident. I had high confidence. I was crushing it on the Forbes, all these things. I didn't know that self-confidence, which fluctuates based on external things, if we're winning or losing, our skill sets and abilities, is different than self-worth. Self-worth is like the deep internal knowing that you are enough and worthy exactly as you are. And that self-worth level is our ceiling. And so when we have low to medium self-worth, we can be, crushing it, doing all these kind of things, but we still hit ceilings and we sabotage them. We'll sabotage opportunities. We'll write the whole manuscript, but then not submit it. We'll hit 6 figures in our business, but not 7 figures, and we don't know why. We'll have, really wild ideas to put like our talent and offerings out in the world, but we'll scroll Instagram for 8 hours a day. We'll hit a ceiling and we'll sabotage. We'll meet an amazing potential partner, and then we'll be like, I don't know why, but I just am not attracted to them. And we put them in the friend zone. And it's because underneath it all, we don't believe we're worthy of the thing, so we'll sabotage it.
Do you think that this is all perpetuated from childhood? Because we've had, funny this week, we've had a lot of people come on here who are very successful that have said something that their mom or dad or teacher said to them that replays in their head. I'll give like an example. Someone came on and said that their father said, "You'll never amount to anything."
Janice Dickinson came on
and,
said
and
that.
she's in her 60s now.
Yeah.
And she still replays "You'll never amount to anything" still to this day. Is there something that you can pinpoint when you were a little girl that was playing in your head for you to sell your company for the amount you did and still not feel worthy?
Yes. Okay. I would love if you guys have a few minutes too to actually go through this exercise where everyone listening can actually do that in their head to know what it is for them. Because here's the thing, some of us have a parent that said something, or we have someone in the school play yard that said it. For Ed Milet, for example, I don't know why I keep bringing him up, but it's like our mutual friend. For him, it was he remembers the moment when he was like pro level in baseball and sabotaged it. Like we have these moments that become these that take root in our identity. For a lot of people, they've had failures or rejections that instead of thinking I failed or was rejected, they let it take root and think I'm a failure, I'm a reject. We all have different moments. And while some of us, like the one you shared with Janice, we have a parental figure that said something, for most of us, it's us telling ourselves the thing and believing it. So like part of why I wrote Worthy is to unlearn all the lies that lead to self-doubt and ignite the truths that wake up worthiness. And one example that I'll share with you, and then I'll take everyone through how to do it because they can listen to us live and be like, oh wow, this is a thing in my own life. It was after I had sold my business, my whole life. I sat there as a little girl watching Oprah and dreaming of one day meeting her. I was home alone a lot as a little girl, and I would watch her interviews, and I was like, oh, and that was my mentor from afar my entire life. And, after all the years of sort of working hard to, pay my way through school and finally get into what I thought was my dream job, which was anchoring the news. And then I took a detour and launched It Cosmetics. What a lot of people don't know is that was a wild story. It was years and years and years and years of rejections, teetering on bankruptcy, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of rejections, and learning how to overcome those and not quit, and eventually turning that business into $1 billion company. And through all of that, I built a whole lot of self-confidence. I am in my 30s, about to turn 40, and I meet Oprah for the first time, which is my lifelong dream. Then she invites me to lunch.
Did you know you were going to meet her, or was it just okay.
Total at an event backstage in her green room? It was a whole thing, and I thought at best it'll be 2 seconds on a step and repeat wall, but it ended up being this sort of private one-on-one meeting. It was just a couple minutes backstage at her event, and after it, I wrote her an email. She invited me over for lunch. So I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a whole thing. So I go to her house. Now
that's a big lunch.
And for anyone, it is a big lunch. For everyone listening, if you've ever been in a great place in your life, you're crushing it, all these things, that was me in that moment. I didn't know there was a huge difference between being self-confident but not having self-worth. And I learned it the hard way in this moment. This is really a defining moment for me. And I think a lot of people will connect with this no matter what their circumstances are, because we've all sabotaged stuff and not known why. But I go to her house for lunch, and I'm like, but I'm really confident. I'm crushing it. The Forbes list had just got all these things. And we have a 3-hour lunch. And at the very end of it, she hands me her cell phone number. And she's like, you can call me anytime. Call me anytime. And I left there, and I did not call her for 4 years. like literally my lifelong, like didn't call her for 4 years. And in that 4-year window, I told myself stories like, oh, I just need to think of the right thing to say. Like, I just got to come up with the right thing to say, then I'll call her. Or, oh, like people probably want stuff from her. Like, I'm going to prove I don't need anything. I'm not going to call her. I told myself all these stories until one day I realized, it hit me like out of the blue, like, I'm not calling her because deep down inside, I don't believe I'm worthy of being her friend. And that was the day where I was like, oh, wow. And that was the moment where two things, like every one of us, our thoughts, which are in our head and tell us self-doubt all day long, are not who we are, but they're so loud. Like our thoughts are so loud. And that's, our head is where self-doubt lives. And our soul, our knowing, our truth, whether someone believes in God and prays and hears God that way, or meditates and gets still, or believes the universe has your back, or all of those things, our soul is where, like, we know the truth. And I remember that day, like that moment of knowing that was a lie, like knowing I'm a kick-ass friend. Like, I am a ride or die kick-ass friend. Like, Oprah or anyone else would be so lucky to be my friend. And I know that is the truth. And in that moment, I remember like imagining myself turning down the volume on my thoughts or my self-doubt, and like turning up the volume on that knowing that knows I am enough. And that was the day I picked up the phone and called her. And that's also the day I became obsessed with studying self-worth and understanding like, oh, wow, if just like me in that day, so many of us can have a lot of self-confidence. We could have put in the reps, like all the things. But if underneath it all, we don't believe we're enough, we will still sabotage stuff, whether it is a relationship we don't think we're worthy of, whether it is our business going to the next level, whether it's a health and fitness goal, it could, or having great friendships, it could be any of it. And so that's really for me, probably the pivotal moment on how I realized, okay, in life, we don't become what we want. We become what we believe we're worthy of.
What did you say to Oprah when you called her?
Okay, so the first time I called, she didn't answer. I'm like, 4 years, and she didn't answer.
I'm not a big answer phoner either.
I'm not either. I'm totally not either. And then we've talked since. We ended up teaching a class this last year, and now
she's on your podcast and you're on hers.
Yeah. So
when she heard this story, did she say anything to you about it? Was she like, why didn't you call?
Yeah, she understands it clear. She's so clear about it. And she, her big thing is exactly that. Like, she'll say, you can work so hard. You can even believe something's possible. But if you don't believe you're worthy of it, she says it in the way of it will not come.
Sometimes no's are actually serendipitous grace wrapped in this package labeled painful rejection or failure, right? And think about so many of the no's that you've had in your past. And think about what meaning have you assigned to those no's? Have you been like, oh, that no means my idea is never gonna work, or that no means like I'm destined to be alone and never be in a relationship, or that no means nobody wants me, or that no means I'm not good enough, or that no means, X, Y, Z, right? But here's the thing, when you reframe the no's, it's so powerful. And you have to reframe them in a way where you know it's true. So I go into an entire masterclass on how to do this in Worthy. There's a whole chapter on it that literally almost was its own book. We were so close to just making that a separate book. I'm like, oh, but I want it out now, so it's in here. This is so huge, you guys, because as human beings, we let our no's or our past, what we perceive as our past rejections and failures, stick to us, and we let them define us often, and we let them keep us stuck from going after the thing. And what it is, it's the meaning that we're actually attaching to what those no's meant. It's the meaning we're attaching to what those no's meant. So when you attach a meaning to a past no or a past rejection that can be, so painful, we don't want that feeling again.
So it keeps us from going on the dating app. It keeps us from telling that person we want to be more than just friends. It keeps us from launching that idea out in the world or sharing our art on social media or, trying to take our business to the next level with a big risk, right? Because we're afraid of the no's, the failures. So I open this with a question for you, which is, what if, every no that's ever happened to you is actually serendipitous grace happening for you? And it just happens to be in a package labeled painful rejection, right? And when you think about that, what happens is you start realizing a no isn't too bad. A no isn't failure. A no doesn't mean I don't have what it takes. A no is just serendipitous grace that I'll learn later why it happened. Maybe it doesn't make sense now. Maybe you tried so hard to get that dude to like you or to get that relationship or that marriage or whatever it was to work out, and you just don't know why it didn't. And you're feeling rejected or, like a failure, whatever it might be. But later, you always learn why, right? So I just want you to think about one no. You could pause this video and write it down if you want. One no or failure or rejection that's happened to you in the past. Maybe it was recent. Maybe it was years ago. Just think of one no right now. And I want you to write down how it honestly made you feel when it happened. And then I want you to write down, what story have you told yourself about that no, right? What meaning have you attached to that no? I want you to write that out. Write it out. Be super, super honest. It's just you and me. No one else is going to see it. You can throw it away at the end of this. Write out that no. Like, what did it really mean for you? What story are you telling yourself now? Maybe it's a past relationship, or it's a friend that just totally didn't show up for you the way you show up for them. Maybe it's a past perceived failure in your business or in your career. Maybe you went for the job hard and you didn't get it. Whatever it might be. What is that story you're telling yourself about it, right? And then I want you to fast forward to where you are now. And you could do this now or you could do this in the future. But I want you to think back, right, to that let's take a relationship. Think back to that past relationship you wanted so bad to work out. Maybe it was one that your friends and family were like, run. But you're like, your heart's like, oh, it's the one, right? You wanted it so bad to work out. Think about a past thing that didn't work out. And now look where you are in your life right now. And do you see yet why it didn't? I mean, a couple examples, I can think back to so many rejections along the way of building It Cosmetics for my living room. And they were rejections that were hard and things I wanted so bad. I wanted a retailer to say yes. I thought if I could just get into, stores now, then everything would be so much better. Or if I could just get a yes from this, big beauty editor to be featured or whatever it might be. When I look back over the last 10, 15 years of all the rejections, now I can see, thank God they happened. Because either now I know, I didn't know what I didn't know back then. Now I know, like, oh, my infrastructure wasn't built out enough to support that store really well and be able to be a top brand so that we didn't get kicked out. Or, the product development process wasn't so rock solid yet. If we would have got that big feature in the magazine, we wouldn't have been ready. We wouldn't have been ready to make the right impression with customers yet. I mean, it's always a thing where you look back and you realize things are always happening for you, not to you. And why this is so important, right? And maybe I can think of a number of past relationships. I remember a guy that I was dating and I wanted it to work so bad, like literally so bad. And he was an alcoholic, like my father who raised me was, and all these other things. But I loved him, and he was hot, all the things. He was a pro athlete. I just thought like, all the things. I look back now, I am like, thank God it didn't work out. Thank God. Like, my whole life would be so different. I'd be living my life worried every single day, feeling unseen, unappreciated every single day, trying to make somebody like me every single day. Mm-mm. But at the time, all I knew was that it didn't work out. I wanted it to, and I was devastated. So my point is this, that I had to learn how to reframe no's in building my business. I could have never started a business in my living room, built it to $1 billion company, had I not learned how to reframe no's along the way. And I reframe them in a way that's completely true. So right now, and again, in Worthy, there is, multi-hour long take you through process on how to do this in every area of your life. Because, and by the way, I haven't even mentioned this, Worthy, you can pre-order it now at worthybook.com. It comes out in a few months. When you pre-order, there's lots of bonuses and everything else to start implementing these tools into your life right now. So excited about it. 100% of the proceeds donated, so I don't sell anything on my site or anything else. But you can grab your book anywhere they're sold, and when you go to worthybook.com, you'll get a bunch of bonuses and all that. But here's the thing. When you learn how to do this, it is so powerful. So right now you picked one no from your past, and you wrote out the meaning you're attaching to it. And I want you to now think of that rejection or that no or that failure. And I want you to think, A, what have you learned from it? B, right, maybe it was a great lesson. Maybe it was that you learned, oh wow, something better is actually coming, a better opportunity, a better fit, a person that's more right for me, whatever it might be. And I want you to reframe that past no and that past rejection. Reframe it. So it could be like, oh wow, that was serendipitous grace, right? It could be like, oh, that rejection was protection. It could be that rejection's happening for me. Reframe that past no, because once you start doing that, you start associating less pain with no's and failure and rejection. When you associate less pain with them, you get more resiliency toward them. That is one of the keys to getting unstuck. It's one of the keys to getting unstuck and just like being fearless about going after, what you truly want, saying how you truly feel, being who you truly are. What if that no was just serendipitous grace, wrapped in a package labeled painful rejection?
So I definitely want to talk about some of the myths and the lies that we tell ourselves, but let's go into before, because you really primed the three things. Why don't we talk about those three things quickly so it's on people's radar?
Yeah, and if they know, like, well, wait, is this really for them? Because to your point, like, self-confidence is so important. I see self-confidence almost as like this house we're building with all the rooms and the achievements and the new art on the wall and this beautiful, masterful house, which is important. But our self-worth is the foundation beneath all of it. And if our foundation has cracks in it, like our house will only ever be as strong and as fulfilled as that foundation. So self-worth, it challenges. And by the way, let me preface this by saying most people with self-worth issues can often be crushing it on the outside and everything looks like it's going so well and they're winning in their business and in their jobs and this and that. But here's how self-worth issues show up in three ways. And it's universal, no matter how much of the world's definition of success you have. So if you have low to medium self-worth, it can often look like you're stuck and you don't know why. And you might be like, oh, my business is at 6 figures, but I don't know why I can't get into 7. Or I have this big idea to run a company or launch my own thing, but I don't know why I'm not going for it. Or I want a life partner, but I'm just not getting on the dating app or putting myself out there. And a lot of people feel stuck. They don't know why. And they think, I just need to get more skills. And that's important and might be true. Or I need to get more experience and that might be true. A lot of times, though, people are stuck because deep down inside, they don't actually believe they're worthy of the thing. They don't believe they're worthy of a loving relationship, or they don't believe they're worthy of actually going from having an idea inside of them to launching the business. And it becomes a deep-rooted self-worth issue why we're stuck. Because to what you shared, we don't rise to what we believe is possible. We fall to what we believe we're worthy of. And then low to medium, when you have low to medium self-worth, what that often looks like is medium level self-worth, is that you'll go for the thing, you'll put yourself out there, but you hit a ceiling, like your self-worth is your ceiling, or you sabotage it along the way. right? You write the whole manuscript and then you don't know why you're not sending it out to publishers and instead scrolling Instagram for 8 hours a day. Or you meet a great partner and you just somehow are just not attracted to them and you put them in the friend zone and you don't know why you're sabotaging different things. And a lot of people do this. They can be crushing it in their business, doing all these things, but they're sabotaging personal relationships or fitness goals. And that's what medium self-worth looks like. It looks like we'll hit a ceiling, or we'll sabotage the thing. And then medium to high self-worth, which a lot of achievers fall into this. That looks like you'll go for the thing, you'll actually achieve it and arrive at it, but you won't feel fulfilled and you feel like something's missing and like it's never ever enough, and that you're never enough. And so the big breakthrough here, I think, is that for a lot of us, for me, for decades, I just thought solving that with more achievement or things that built more confidence would finally make me feel enough, not realizing confidence is fragile. It's based on the external. And what I really needed is self-worth. And to your point, building self-worth is really about unlearning a lot of the lies that lead to self-doubt and igniting those truths that wake up worthiness. So that's why I wrote Worthy. I wrote Worthy if you have some self-doubt to destroy and a destiny to fulfill.
Yes. Is there a lie that you want to highlight? I mean, obviously everyone's listening, they're going to go and be inspired to get the book. Is there a lie that you want to unravel for people and point out so they could be sensitive to it? And I'm sure there are a number of lies that we tell ourselves that lead to self-doubt, and what the truth would be to embrace, to be able to wake up to own that worthiness.
Yeah, I mean, just cracking open Worthy for a minute and just to some of these lies. If I'm me, I won't be loved. I'm the real me. I'm an imposter. That is a big one. Right now, as we're talking, 73% of men feel inadequate and not enough. 80% of women feel like they're not enough. 75% of female executives deal with imposter syndrome. It is a big, big issue. Another lie, labels are permanent. A lot of us have let labels, oh my gosh, your story is so powerful around this, about how to not let things other people say about us stick to us. And there's a whole exercise and framework in the book about how to unlearn and remove labels. Almost like a lot of us think labels are permanent, and we let them stick to us like permanent things, but they're really like Post-it notes. You can remove them like a light adhesive, and you can, apply new labels to your life. If I stand out, I'll get kicked out. A lot of us are afraid of our greatness, and we dim our light and show up inauthentically to belong. There's another whole chapter in here about people pleasing, right? Which 40% of men describe themselves as people pleasers, over 50% of women do.
Wow.
And so many people, but like we feel we need to please others in order to be accepted or love or belong. But oftentimes it comes as a result of us betraying ourselves. And every time we show up inauthentically in this world, we are telling ourselves that who we are isn't enough. And so I guess if I were to pick one lie, this will be really hard. You and I actually recently dove deep into rejection and reframing rejection. There's a whole masterclass in here in Worthy, the book about how to change your relationship with rejection to change your life. But in our time, I would say, I hope and pray everyone listening to us, and this is something I love so much about you, Jim, is when you step into the power of owning who you authentically are and like all of who you are, that is when you live in alignment with your assignment on this earth. And there's a whole chapter called You're Not Crazy, You're Just First. And what I love about this chapter is for anybody listening to us who has ever felt like who they are is not enough, or like perhaps if they were the real them, then maybe people would be like, oh, they're not as cool or funny or smart or competent as I thought they were. Or if anyone has ever felt odd or quirky or strange or different, this whole chapter called You're Not Crazy, You're Just First is one of my favorites for that, because I share how growing up, I was adopted and raised by 5 different families and love them all. I'm so blessed beyond measure. And what I will say is I was the only one out of all 5 of my families that would have these kind of out there ideas like, what if we could end world hunger? What if I could launch a business one day? What if I could become a CEO one day? Right. And I had these just big ideas that were not normal for the families and environments I was raised around. And they'd always call me terms of endearment. They thought like, you're crazy. You're crazy. Like who do you think you are to have ideas like this? And I remember after many years of always kind of feeling like I needed to kind of dim my own light or change who I was to fit in. I was actually the first person in any of my families to go to therapy in my late 20s. And I remember asking my therapist, I said, my whole life, like people who love me, they're like, you have these wild ideas, all these things, like you're crazy. These terms of endearment. I asked the therapist, I said, am I crazy? And she said, you're not crazy, but I'm really glad you're here. And she explained to me that when you're the first in your peer group or family or friends to kind of think different or be willing to show up as who you fully authentically are, not everyone's going to get it right away, because there's only one of you that has ever been created, ever. And and this is for everyone listening to us right now, if you are one of the brave ones willing to show up authentically as who you truly are in this world, you're first. You're the first ever you. There's never been another you before, right? There's no one else with your unique fingerprints or heartbeat or your unique tongue print or your unique iris of your eyes or the experiences you've had in life or the emotions you feel the way you feel them or the way you see art and beauty and the world. And there's never been another you. And so whether you approach your business authentically or anything else, don't be surprised if not everyone gets it right away, because they've never seen another you before. And when I launched my company, It Cosmetics, and grew it to $1 billion company, right, over many, many years, the first many years were met with all this rejection and people not thinking it's going to work. And also, I was entering a crowded space. A lot of people tell themselves the lie. This is one of the lies in the book Worthy, that my idea's already been done and I have nothing special to offer. Jim, I do not care how I entered a makeup industry where there's tens of thousands of makeup companies.
One of the most competitive industries out there.
Yeah, it's already been done. But guess what? I don't care what industry anyone listening is in, or if you or what product you're going to launch or what idea you're going to put out there that you think, well, maybe someone else has already done it better. If you are actually willing to do it authentically to you, by definition, it has never been done before, ever. And that's the secret sauce. And so I remember the moment when my therapist had shared all this with me, and I had this moment that was like a light bulb went off in my brain, so bright that it burst, where I was like, I'm not crazy. I'm just first. I'm just first. And I remember that every time I got told no, growing my business, every time I thought, I really believe in this vision that this product can really help people one day, and I'd be told, oh, that's never going to work. And I just would remember thinking, I'm not crazy, I'm just first. Or when I walk in a room and for whatever reason, maybe don't feel like I fit in, I'm like, I'll tell myself, it's okay. I'm just the first me. Eventually they'll love me. And this is a lie we tell ourselves, that if I am who I am, it's somehow not enough. And if I'm the real me, I won't be loved. And every time we show up inauthentically, which, by the way, Jim, it's impossible to have another connection, a true connection with another human being, whether it's a friend, a partner, our customers, unless you actually show up fully authentically. And so that is your power. That's your genius zone. And anytime you show up inauthentically as someone you think people want you to be, you're chipping away at your self-worth and telling yourself that who you are is not worthy. And so unlearning this lie, when you tell yourself, I'm not crazy, I'm just first, it is powerful. It feels like joy. It tastes like freedom.
Ladies and gentlemen, rock this house and welcome to the stage, Jamie Kern Lima!
Baby Kern single one of us has had someone tell us we're not enough. Every single one of us has had someone say words to us that hurt